That's my air freshener hanging out in the way. Get you a Banana Cat air freshener, kids. Just kidding. Let me get that out of the way there. But haven't posted anything in a while. Didn't really want to just post a video of me looking at my truck with nothing going on, so I didn't. But we have just hit about 10,000 miles, and I did make some modification. Well, a modification. Okay, 2 modifications. One stayed, one didn't, to the truck. So there is something to update there. Go ahead and go through the updates real quick so I can talk at length about 10,000 miles and what it's been like so far. First modification was a 2.5-inch lift kit on the front end to even it with the rear end. If you have one of these trucks, if you have a truck in general, I would advise going ahead and doing that if your car has, if it has any, you know, lowered pitch at all, because the Raptor definitely has a slightly lowered front end. I've noticed it's a very, very minor change, but I've noticed a slight difference in ride position and a slight difference in the ride itself, and I don't hate it. I feel like I'm a little bit straighter up and down with the road. It's really nice. It was really, well, I say it was really easy. A friend of mine did it for me. A friend of mine's a mechanic for CarMax, and he's basically a wizard. So rather than me start taking my own front end apart and doing God knows what to it, I just went over to his house and gave him beer and money, and he took care of it all for me. He also rotated my tires, which do that if you get a chance, because these things eat the shit out of some tires. But 2.5-inch lift kit. It involves taking, you know, your wheels off and you know, removing your shocks and taking a whole bunch of stuff apart and putting a spacer in and putting it all back together. I'll see if I can't find some videos for that. I was going to do a video of it at his house while he was doing it, but it was 250,000 degrees outside, and ain't nobody got time to stand there with a camera in the sun. I was trying to hide from it. But 2.5-inch lift. Get one if you haven't, or 1-inch, whatever it takes to get you even. Do it. It's really nice. Even if you don't put bigger wheels, because a lot of times people will put 30, I think they put 37s on these with a lift kit once they even the front end out. I think 37s actually might be a little bit close, or it would actually, or maybe it's a little bit, if you go higher than the leveling kit and put 37s, you start running into ride issues. But you don't have to do anything else to it. It still looks good with the stock wheels. So that went on. That was great. Same day, he also installed, and I know I mentioned this before, he installed a Borla ATAK X-pipe all the way back to the original factory tips exhaust system. Because I saw video, I had a Borla ATAK on my Grand Cherokee SRT, and it sounded amazing. It sounded good at idle, it sounded good at casual driving, and it sounded good when you floored it. So I watched some videos on the Borla ATAK. I love Borla. I'm a total fanboy. And I watched some videos on it, and I was like, you know what? It's loud. It's a little throaty. I think I'll go with that with this truck again. I knew I couldn't get a V6 to sound like a V8, because, you know, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. You sure can't turn a V6 into a V8. And I got the exhaust. We get it installed. We crank it up. It's got a really good deep gurgle at idle. And when we take off, we drive around a little bit, and it's loud. And I thought I was okay with it. And I think I've got some video I'll try and splice in here for an example of what I'm complaining about. It just doesn't sound good. And here, I'll roll the window down, and we'll do it again. See if you can hear it. I'll try not to get the wind all in it. Thought I was okay with it. Went under an overpass and floored it. And if you've ever heard like a Corvette or like a WRX or something like that go under an overpass and floor it, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say it was obnoxious. It was so loud that I immediately felt bad and apologized to everyone around me. And then I became hyper aware of it. And the problem I ran into with that is once I'm hyper aware of something like that, I can't let go of it until I've either come to terms with it or resolved it. And I could not come to terms with that exhaust. It is loud, but the difference between the Jeep and this thing was the Jeep sound was pretty consistent throughout idle drive flooring. I mean, it was louder as you went out, but it was the same sound. The Borla ATAK, now I don't know if the S-Type would have been any better, but the Borla ATAK is a spectrum of noises. It ranged from a low kind of gurgle rumble at idle to kind of loud like driving to a little loud accelerating to some guy holding 2 coffee cans full of rocks and shaking them and yelling. It just wasn't a good sound. And my friend and I kind of went back and forth because we're not 100% sure, but the box arrived with one whole corner of it blown out, like it had been dropped at speed or something just banged the shit out of it. I don't know, but the box was damaged. I didn't think anything about it because there's no visible damage to the exhaust, and it's metal. Didn't think anything about it. Installed it, went on our way. But we think there's potential that maybe some of the fins or something inside the exhaust may have been jostled or damaged or something like that, and maybe it just wasn't producing the sound that it was supposed to. But in any event, rolled around with that on it for about a week, almost 2 weeks, I think, and I called my friend and said, man, I can't. And he had me come back over and he snatched it all off. We were gonna try a half and half with the X-pipe and then put the mufflers back on from the new system, or from my stock mufflers with the X-pipe that came with the Borlas, and then I would just sell the mufflers that came with the Borlas because they're polished and someone would want them. Someone's okay with that sound. I'm not saying it's like if you have it on your truck you're an idiot. It's just not my sound. It's just not for me. There's somebody out there that loves that, and more power to them. So we were going to try that, but once we got half and half on, we found out there was a mismatch with the pipes, and without an extra piece of pipe or some welding or some cutting, you know, we couldn't do it. So we scrapped the whole thing, went back to bone stock. Quality of life shot through the roof. I feel so much better. And I also got in touch with realtruck.com about returning it, and I'm waiting on a response from Borla because I guess the manufacturer is going to reach out to me to return it. So that's it. The exhaust is no more. I don't think I'm going to worry about putting exhaust on this thing because there's something else in the garage that needs the money. The money is better spent. You know, $1,000 to this truck doesn't really do a whole lot. $1,000 to what's in the garage does a whole lot. So I've sort of shifted that a little bit. I am still going to do a couple of things to the truck. Probably going to pull this vinyl off. I'm not pleased with the 3M 1080. Not good. It's a crappy vinyl. It's flimsy. It's just not great. I'm going to probably go, if I do it again, I'm actually thinking about doing it myself, which will be a whole comedy of a video, I'm sure. But I may do it myself, and I'll probably do it with Avery vinyl instead of the 3M 1080. Apparently the Avery's super easy to apply, and it's really forgiving, and it's a good vinyl. So I may do that later on. I may have to wait until I have a little more space because I'm probably going to want to keep it indoors and drive the other car around while I spend, you know, a weekend or 3 months wrapping this truck. And so that's still in the pipe. Still going to do that. Ford tune, man, your guess is as good as mine at this point. 50 state emissions approval is what we're waiting on. So, you know, I'm either going to run out of warranty and just do a third-party one anyway, or they're going to finally come up with it, you know, probably right before that. But I got nothing on that. Every time I call Ford Performance, I get the same story of we're just waiting on, you know, 50 state emissions approvals. Looking at you, California, because I bet it's you. So that's about it so far with the truck. Really haven't done anything else to it hardly. 10,000 mile review on it though. Love it. I still have no complaints about it. It drives great. It gets amazing gas mileage for what it is. It's good. It's a good truck. Again, I think any of them, if I would have got a platinum or a limited or whatever, I think it still would have been probably just as pleased with it. It's just a really good all-around truck. Haven't had any issues with it in 10,000 miles. There was a mention before in a couple of videos, I said something about a noise when I would take off or brake. My friend and I talked about it, and he said that it's something to do with the drive shaft, where it actually comes in and out sometimes when you stop and go. He said there's a TSB for it where they'll actually disconnect it, use some sort of special Ford lube for it, and then I think he said they'll turn it like 180 degrees and reinstall it, and then it'll never make that noise again. So next time I go to the dealership, I'm going to bring that up, because I thought it was something clanging against the gas tank, or the spare was loose, you know, or some who knows what. But turns out it's just, apparently he said Ford's been doing it that way for years, and they just don't bother fixing it at the factory when they could. So I'll talk to the dealership about that. Other than that, reviews on the truck, I got nothing. It's 100% solid. Everything's solid about it. I love it. If you have one, you probably are saying, yep, that's pretty much how I feel about it. If you don't have one, you're probably saying, yep, that's what I wanted to hear. It's a good truck. So also, next week is the Raptor Assault. On the 19th, I go and do the dinner and all of that. And the drive school's the next day. You know, do some hills and some mountains and some balling out in the dirt and stuff like that. Got a couple surprises for that. That'll be fun. Meeting up with Will Motivation and Matt from Obsessed Garage. So that'll be cool to meet those guys as well. And you know, gonna get there, do the dinner. Next day's the school. Leave the school, go to the airport, and go home. Just gonna, you know, knock it all out in one day. And then try and get as much video out of it as I can while I'm there. I got a GoPro that I'm gonna, hopefully they don't have any issues with people sticking GoPros on their trucks. I kind of feel like they probably don't, because I feel like that's everything. Every day somebody does that. But we'll do that. We'll get a video of the Raptor Assault going, and I'll show y'all what's going on in the garage. I'm really excited about it. I've been really wanting a project car to play with, and I finally got that sorted out, and I'm really pleased with what I found, and hopefully you guys will be too. And if you're not, I don't really care, because it's my car and it's not yours, and at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. But hopefully you like it. I think a lot of you will. Some of you will be like, whatever. Some of you are going to think it's pretty cool, you know, and then some of you are going to think it's hot trash, and that's okay. So, and you know, if you go to Petco or PetSmart or anywhere that offers it, and they ask if you want to donate some money to some animals, probably a good idea. Just go ahead and do that. You know, you're out there buying Rick and Morty flip-flops and, you know, Marlboro Reds in a hard pack. You can afford to give a cat and a dog, you know, a couple dollars, I think. Don't take care. Be good. Don't be a jerk. Okay, bye.